Hello, one and all. This is your host, Art, the cute and lovable DJ of the furry community that's always dipped in awesome sauce. If you were expecting a certain worshipping traitorous horse, then you can take a sigh of relief, as Copper is busy building the life-size statue of me along with most other Generation 1 staff. I did, however, brought a few other oldie moldies with me. Here with me is, of course, Morgan, the wolf that's proof wolves are the best and always makes you ask why you're not one yet.
Only sometimes. Although if you had to find that mold.
Also here is actually Hazel, who's been more of an advisor and supporter, but today is in the co-host seat, which I believe is the first time for you.
Yep, I've only ever been in the fireside chats before this, so.
You got promoted!
Well, welcome to the front lines. It's not much, but it has character.
Keep an eye out for mustard gas.
That too. Lastly, we have Celty, which, of course, if you haven't heard her already, the strange anomaly thing that has a dimension with which Copper can probably only see.
I just manifested myself here.
Yeah. Well, Copper's the only one that probably can see gazing off into space like the truth tortoise that he is.
Kelsey just suddenly appeared one day.
I gave him the truth tortoise. I gave him the truth tortoise, and now he sees all.
And of course, for our guest today, we have the one and only Summercat, owner of Furry Fuel, the energy drink that's targeted towards the community.
And
welcome
to a few other things, but yes. Hello.
Oh, yes.
We're going to become best friends.
Maybe. I'm still up in the air about certain issues with Furry Fuel, but it's been a success. It's just a matter of I've got way too many other things I'm going on with, too.
The problems of life. Not enough time, but yet so many things to do.
Yeah, that's pretty common.
Yep,
Fish, please. I got all the time in the world.
It's really actually made back all the money I've spent on it, and then some. It's just, well, I've got quite a few other projects that are taking a lot of time. I'd rather spend more time focusing on.
We're actually going to be discussing a little bit of some of these older projects that used to go ahead and do as well.
All right. So,
but
a long resume?
Yes. I've noticed.
Submit it to LinkedIn.
Now, of course, we've discussed branding and companies who have tried to make furries their cash cow. Cough, cough, I'm VU. But every now and then we get something unique. Furries who brand themselves and have made their own business. But you guys did actually do something unique by also outsourcing other furs in the development of the product, because you're not the only ones that do the drawings on Furry Fuel cans, did you?
Well, what it is that my former partner is the one that did most of the art for a can. What it is I go through a company that actually does this sort of thing for custom labels. That's what their business is. They have the formula, they brew it up, they do the canning, they put the labels on, they do the printing of the labels, they package them up and ship them out in whole cases only. And that is all they do, and all I have to do is pretty much toss some money and resell it.
Sounds like a simple life.
It is, and if I was able to sell at more conventions, I'd probably be doing a lot better with it. Unfortunately, there's this minor rule that most conventions have in their contracts where food and beverages aren't allowed to be sold in the dealer's room.
I mean, kind of could make sense. There's probably also like a safety concern.
It's also usually the vendor that sells food and drinks at the venues usually have a non-compete contract with the hotel.
That would make sense.
So I keep stumbling into that, but even with that, it was actually pretty good because, it actually tastes pretty decent. I wouldn't be bothering with it if it didn't.
That's one of the
you know what?
That's taste.
I was going to say, as far as like energy drinks and stuff go, that's like a rare commodity. Most of them taste like battery acid in a can.
Yeah. And frankly, I miss the taste of some of the battery acid, to be quite honest.
The battery acid alone makes
Go get a Red Bull.
The problem is I can't take it. I can't take any more stimulants. I actually can't even drink my own product anymore.
Really?
Medication means I can't have any stimulants.
Ah.
I can't even have a can of Coke.
That's rough. I'm sorry.
Those are some. Yeah.
I couldn't live that way.
I've somehow managed.
Well, those are some pretty
You are
powerful.
a god among men.
More of an ought among men.
Well, in that case, you're in the right place.
You should have been expecting that. You oughter have been expecting it.
All right, so obviously you guys haven't been able to go ahead and sell in other conventions, but memory serves, you guys actually used to go ahead and sell the stuff down over there at Further Confused.
Yeah, Further Confusion was actually one of the only conventions that was allowing us to sell, but that may have been because there was nothing specific in the rules against it, and I knew all the senior staff because I'd been volunteering at the convention since 2007. So they knew I wasn't, some random person.
Try to lace these beverages with LSD or something.
Or more, or less. I mean, I did used to sell pixie sticks. The giant
Well,
ones, by the way.
Wow.
Yep. Unfortunately, I moved in 2016 to Virginia, so I can't exactly... Furry Fuel made money, but it's not making enough money to cover my plane ticket.
At least Virginia's nice, though. I used to live in Portsmouth when I was in the Navy.
I'm in Northern Virginia area.
Gotcha.
It's a pretty nice area.
Yeah, we don't talk about West Virginia.
That's where 76 takes place. We're not going there.
They just had a free weekend, too, for that game. Or a free week.
I bought it. I enjoyed Fallout 76 for the week or so I played it before the new patch for Stellaris dropped, and then
I want to buy it, but
hey, they're at least making it better.
Yeah.
So on average, how many cases did you actually sell on a monthly basis?
On a regular monthly basis, not including conventions, it was very sporadic. Maybe 1 or 2 cases a month. Sometimes a bit more. But because of how I set up my contract with the manufacturer, that actually worked out. They would just literally take some of the cans they already had just pulled off the line, slap my labels on it, and drop ship them out to people. So it's not like I ordered 80 cases and they're sitting in my closet or anything for 2 years.
Yeah.
The stuff's fresh when you order it.
Well,
that was a concern.
Yeah,
and that's a concern people have.
It's a pretty valid concern. It's something I can see lesser people actually doing too, though, is the problem.
It kind of makes you think.
Yeah, especially if it's a product that has an expiration date.
I don't even know what the expiration life is on energy drinks, so...
Usually about a year or 2.
Yeah,
like juice.
They have a pretty long shelf life because of how they're made.
And then when I went to conventions to sell, I'd bring about 22 cases and sell out before the end of the day on Sunday.
Nice. So you actually were able to go ahead and do more at conventions than you were able to do online.
It's honestly likely because of the convenience factor of having energy drinks at the convention. You don't have to go anywhere.
The problem is online, I have to sell them in whole cases because the manufacturer only ships in whole cases.
Yep.
Whereas at conventions, I can sell them individually.
The downside of bulk sales.
How much go in a case? Like a 6-pack? Or we're talking about
24
20?
cans, actually.
That's actually not a bad amount, though.
Yeah, no, it's actually a fairly decent amount for the cases. It's a little more expensive than Red Bull, but if I was selling Red Bull numbers in quantity, I'd be at Red Bull prices.
Yeah, that's economies of scale.
Oh yeah. Plus, the more I order from my manufacturer, the cheaper they sell it to me for.
Yep, that's just typical economies of scale, which is good. Hopefully, you'll get there one day.
Maybe, like I said, it's kind of in limbo right now due to trying to juggle off my other projects.
So what was it that originally gave you the idea on selling energy drinks to furs anyway?
It was actually originally Jones Soda custom label stuff. Are you familiar with Jones Soda?
Oh, Jones Pop?
Yep. That's the stuff.
That's some good stuff.
The very first original version of what became Furry Fuel was actually 2 cases, which are only 4 bottles each, of Jones Soda that had custom labels on it.
That's actually pretty
Nice.
Then when I was shopping around, I was trying to find a more regular manufacturer that was cheaper than what Jones Soda was paying. Then I found the company I went with. I ordered a sample kit of pretty much all the products and ended up liking the energy drink most of all.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's good though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so it's just basically saw something, sparked up an idea. Hey, let's go ahead and do this.
Yep. And plus it helped that, well, I didn't really worry too much if it was going to make a profit versus just make money back. At first,
Breaking
at least.
even.
Yeah. At
As
the
long as
time,
you
I
break
was trying to
even.
sell other stuff, so it was more of, oh, hey, this will be a neat draw. And then no one bought any of my other stuff, so.
Sad.
'Tis the life.
Oh, well. That's shifting markets for you. How many of you guys have convention sketchbooks you bring to conventions and have people draw on?
I don't, unfortunately. I've unfortunately only managed to go to about 4 conventions.
Hey, that's more than me. I've only been to one.
Yeah,
Same.
well, I've gone to one Furry weekend in Atlanta, 2 BronyCons, and what was the other one? There was an anime con that was in Ohio.
Hey, you know what? You'd be surprised. I've actually said, I don't count anime cons as fur cons, but you'd be really surprised how many people show up in fursuits.
Yeah,
It's ridiculous.
That's kind of why I
I'm
count
not.
it.
I wouldn't count anime conventions, but anime and furry do have a big history together, especially in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and I mean, there's one that happens here every March called NakaCon, and I swear the last time I went was just like 3 or 4 years ago. There were more furries walking around than there were actual people dressed as anime characters. It was kind of stunning.
Yeah.
Well, that's because anime characters they gotta dress up as someone else. Furries, we dress up as ourselves.
Yep, that's the key difference there. Is,
Or at least an artist rendition of yourself in anthropomorphic form.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Anime and furries kind of go hand in hand. The only reason for it is simply because it crosses over in cosplay.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that's the only reason. Sorry, I'm also a bit of a fandom historian.
That's fair.
But,
Well, there's also, furries in anime. I mean, like Bleach being, for example, one of the captains is like a fox or something. I don't know. But yeah, there's like plenty of them where there's furries in anime.
Well, I was actually thinking more of talking about furry fandom and crossover to the anime because one of the very first organized anime club in the United States was founded by the people who also effectively built the framework for the modern furry fandom. Yeah, the Cartoon Fantasy Organization, if you look at their mascot, is a Skiltaire, which was created by Mark Merlino, also known as Cy Sable, who also threw the first furry party.
Yep, back down over here in California during the 1980s.
1989 in was it Irvine or Costa Mesa?
Sounds like a good year.
It was a good year. It was about the year after I was born.
That doesn't make it a good year.
Wow.
It's a good year because it's my first year of life. I see.
Hey,
Yes.
you're old. Congratulations.
I'm older. I was 4.
Sad.
Oh my god.
Hey, you're old.
Thank you for reminding me. Why did I come on the show?
Oh my goodness.
It's okay. I'm always getting harassed by them because of it. I've only gotten at least about 2-3 others who are more older than I am, and most of these jackasses, they're in their teens and 20s.
Yeah, I'm 25, so.
God, most of you probably weren't even...
23.
Okay, so all of you were born when I joined the fandom. Good. For the record, I joined the fandom in 1999.
Fair enough.
Oh, that was a good year. I was 3. Since they're all going to give that answer.
I swear to God, if I wasn't already a gray otter, I'd be graying already.
Just,
So
gray hair
I
just
swear,
starts
us
patching
fur is
through.
all white because of me.
I don't want to hear about how someone turned all white because of you.
Oh
That
no!
doesn't sound pretty.
Oh no, oh no. It went right over my head.
And you're the one who said it.
Oh no.
Oh god.
Kids, cover your
In my
ears.
life. Sexual innuendos without even realizing it.
Furries.
Only what you expect from us.
I expect a higher class of
less but the
innuendo.
best.
Is there a higher class of innuendo?
You know what? Your mind is the one that went there. My mind was innocent. I'm free of all charges.
I'm certain that you are.
I will contest that in court.
Well, alright. Of course, you've been a part of other things. Before Furry Fuel, you became editor of Antler Review and Tales from Neon Phoenix, both of which were your projects, correct?
Yep, those were both personal projects of mine. I actually was both editor and publisher and funder and primary seller and pretty much everything about it except for the content was me, which is why they didn't turn out so well.
Oh no.
Oof.
Yeah, you see, the problem is that those types of projects take multiple people to do.
Yep.
And I was doing it by myself, which is perfectly fine. The problem is I have no background in this sort of thing. And they did okay. The problem was with Tales. Here's a good example for Tales in the Neon Phoenix. It was meant to be a adult story anthology. And it was meant to be both... I didn't have a good idea for a focus. And it turned out that most of the stories I got were homosexual guy-on-guy stories. Perfectly fine.
Yep.
The big problem was that the artist pitched to me the idea of, well, this is your very first adult one. Why don't we do a furry version of the first issue of Playboy of Marilyn Monroe as a cat? And the idea was pitched to me before I got the content in, and it wasn't until after everything had been printed and I'd received the physical copies that I realized, wait there's no girls in this story.
Wait a minute.
This cover is a lie.
Hey, at least you're honest about it.
Those are the sort of mistakes you make when you're doing a 5-person job by yourself.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Definitely. If you're a bit overstretched, it happens.
So as a consequence, it didn't quite sell that well.
Yeah.
Well, you were also, what do you call it? Fur Affinity's administrator as well. What actually prompted your departure from that?
Oh, well, okay. So part of it's a matter of record because the actual chat logs got leaked. But I had an argument with Skiggles, who was then the lead admin and then Dragoneer's wife. And then it probably would have blown over, except for one of the other admins who also was arguing with her at the same time, ended up leaking everything.
Drama!
Yeah, furry drama is, well, I mean, some
You
background.
don't have to say just furry drama. You could just say online drama. It's always
online
super
drama.
brutal.
Furry drama is just online drama with
It's
furries. There's nothing special about it.
Well, we
Well, the
kind
thing is like,
we kind of
with
have
like,
our own brand of drama, though, just like bronies.
that's true.
To put that into context, I'm coming from I'm one of the old administrators of Ponyville Live, and I run Ponyverse, and brony drama is like everywhere.
Every
If you
season,
think
you
about it-
guys would have some sort of drama.
Yeah.
Well, what do you
Drama
think
is
for
difficult.
the community
It's like,
found on 4chan?
notice with online communities, especially with furries, it just gets so brutal. Like, compared to like real life, you think, oh, well, online you can walk away. But like, I don't know, when it becomes like a whole community debate, you just can't really walk away. You're just kind of engulfed in it.
The way I always say it is that furries, we wear our hearts on our sleeves and air our dirty laundry in public. We
Yep.
are
Yeah.
no more acrimonious or drama-filled than any other group. We just put it out there for everyone to see. So it seems like a lot more, but that's because we don't hide it.
And our community is also a bit more online based than some others are, or
One might say
publicly online based.
One might say we're actually one of the first communities built around that.
Yeah.
Certainly, most of the early days of furry, where most of the people who weren't artists were very heavy into tech.
Yeah.
Hey, I mean, once it's on the net, it's out there.
Until you, not exactly. That you have digital data rot, which is something I've been trying to fight against.
Oof.
Luckily, advances in technology have made it so that bit rot is it's not going away, but it's taking a lot longer.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of the stuff from the very early days that are very niche for most people.
They got lost because the hardware wasn't quite.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that I would love to have access to, but unfortunately, the data drives that they're stored on
Are dead.
they aren't compatible with much, and the owner thinks they're dead, and he doesn't even have a way to access them anyway.
Yeah.
I just learned a whole bunch from this interview.
Yeah.
Who says we weren't educational?
I'm a retro
Like,
tech nerd.
whoa, data has an expiration date? I had no idea I needed to put this in the fridge, too.
Yep, data needs to be put in the fridge or the freezer, or else it will, eventually spoil.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, if you have old CDs and DVDs, go check them sometime if they're over 10 years old, because that's their shelf life.
Maybe I should toss up that giant box I have in my closet then.
Yeah, especially
Yes,
RWs.
Huh.
I've literally saved every single CD and DVD I've ever had.
And
They don't
professional
stack very
printed ones,
well.
professionally printed ones, the ones that aren't read writable, that are made by studios and stuff, they'll last a bit longer, like 20, 30 years, up to 100, depending on who printed them. But the read writables, they only last for about 10, because they're meant to be written to.
Yep.
Good. My copy of The Matrix is still good. Well, then here comes the next arduous task of backing everything up onto a cloud drive that doesn't hold so much before you have to pay a lot out of pocket.
Oh, God. That is my current dilemma, actually, with my furry library stuff.
Yeah, you seem to have quite a collection with furry trinkets and books and comics and whatnot.
Yeah, I currently have, including multiple copies, over 2,200 items.
Jeez.
And my goal with that is pretty much to bring them to conventions and allow people to look at them, go through them, especially the older stuff that is just out of print and hard to find.
Yeah, so you're providing a good service there, for the most
Yep.
part.
I actually have I do panels at pretty much every convention I go to. I have a panel on it at Anthrocon. I bought a table at Camp Tiny Paws, actually, to do a display there. And then I got hijacked by Furthermore to staff their museum by promising me space for the library there, too.
I'm glad that you're somebody who's also archival minded, though. That's a pretty important thing for fandoms.
It's not just archival I'm trying to do, it's also make it so it doesn't get lost, because if it's just sitting in a storage unit, then no one... It might as well be in the trash.
Well, that's the more modern definition of how internet archival is done is that it's on public display, where this is how it used to be, this is what happened back in the past, and
yeah, there's only so much I can do with that, because a lot of what I have is
Almost like a retrospective.
owned by people, so I can't really put scans of this stuff and put them online, because I don't have the rights to do that. What I would have the rights to do is, take them to places and let people look at them.
Yeah.
Or if people want to drive out to my apartment, make arrangements with me.
Well, technically, yeah. So it's the copyright on it gets a bit fuzzy. But as long as it would have to be for non-commercial uses and stuff. Like you couldn't put ads on the site and whatnot. But yeah.
No, I actually couldn't even put the content up.
Depending on the content, there's
most
some of it.
Most of the stuff I have.
Yeah.
Anything that was membership only or for sale at original offering.
Yeah.
I can't put those up.
Fair enough.
I still
So if there was like money made on it at any point type thing.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Even then, that's kind of iffy. And if anyone I ever put stuff up for, if I ever do, tells me, hey, take that down, I have to take it down.
Yeah, you'd have to take it down. Yeah.
Especially since I know a lot of these people and I depend upon a lot of their goodwill for some of the stuff.
I would like to not make my friends angry.
Yeah, especially since, some of them are pretty influential, at least behind the scenes.
Oof. Game of Thrones in the furry fandom.
It's always been like that.
I know that FRL used to be that way.
It's like this donation I got from Joe Strike. Joe Strike wrote Furry Nation, which is actually the only published history of the furry fandom. It's more of a narrative history than a textbook. Mm-hmm. And if you guys are interested in furry history, I would definitely suggest you go and read it. Okay. But he had a bunch of furry publications sitting in his storage locker in New York, so he offered to let me have them. So me and my husband drove up there a couple weeks ago and actually picked it up, and Oh dear gods, we filled the trunk of the car.
Yeah, there's just so much stuff.
Got about 80 issues of Razzle, which was a old APA members only zine, so only members would have copies of this. And then about 110 other items that are just miscellaneous. That I haven't even cataloged these guys yet. They're just kind of sitting in my den.
Just in piles or boxes.
Pretty much in piles for the most part right now. The den stays closed and everything's fine. But
so exactly how long have you been amassing this collection?
I first started buying stuff in, I want to say 2002 is when I started buying furry comics. And over the course of time, it's just I've added my purchases to it. My first big purchase to, this is a bunch of stuff I want, was, I want to say 2009 or so, when someone had a whole bunch of Tales of the Taipan universe for sale, and I made them an offer for the entire box. And then that just kind of started going from there. I probably the biggest single increase I had was my very first Anthrocon in 2017, when I ended up buying about 6 boxes of comics bulk from a vendor there. So about 600, 700 items.
Ooh. Yeah, it's just like Crinkles. You can't stop that.
Yep.
Sir, I can definitely stop at one.
Oh,
I've seen
can't
your
stop
habit.
at one furry comic. I have a sticker somewhere that's. I don't have a problem me sitting there on a pile of comics with a bunch of boxes of books behind me.
I don't have a problem.
That's not a problem. That's a solution.
Yes, I've turned my problem
Denial
into a
is a
solution. I had to find a problem for it to be a solution too, but I did.
All right, so exactly how has these businesses and the furry community impacted your way of life? Because obviously it seems like it's been done quite...
How has furry impacted me? It's easier to figure out. Actually, the easier way to say is everything. I have to actually sit and think in ways that non-furry stuff has impacted my life. I've been a member of the fandom since I was 14, and I'm currently 33, turning 34 this year.
Oh my gosh, it's like looking into my future.
That's pretty much it, is that my entire idea of what my future would be was influenced by the things I saw in the furry fandom. My ideal relationship with a future husband was based upon the relationship I saw in a comic called Circles. The type of household and type of house I would like to live in was influenced by the Prancing Steel Terror, which was a furry household run by Mark Merlino, which held a furry party every month. And at their peak, they hit about 300 people.
Yeah, I mean, 300 people in a furry party. Even I
It's a
have...
convention.
Yeah,
I was gonna say that's pretty much.
It's a convention every month.
Yeah, it's a cheap convention, mind you. Conventions themselves are stupid expensive, but
I mean, really, a convention's just like, hey, let's all get together and buy stuff. I mean, you kind of socialize, but
there's a bit more to it. I've been behind organizing a few Brony conventions, and it gets pretty expensive, especially depending on the venue.
Yeah, I've actually cited venues for conventions before. I'm actually working on putting together Summercat Con after 10 years of joking about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm aware of how expensive they can get, but for a lot of people, they're also often the only way to actually socialize with other people.
Yeah,
especially
because
in person.
The problem is that being a furry is still a niche thing, and so you're more likely gonna find people online than in real life, and going to go meet your online friends and stuff like that. The conventions are a place for that, where you feel safe and you have things to do together.
Yep. There's also, buying and selling stuff because, conventions were around before internet sales were.
Yep.
Prior to the internet allowing people to buy stuff, your only way to get furry stuff was to either go to conventions or do mail order through things like Rabbit Valley.
Yeah.
And then, there's also special interest groups, panels, meetups to, not just meet friends, but also, meet other people who may become friends.
The growth of the internet has really helped the furry fandom.
Oh, yeah.
I would say, yeah, the growth of the internet has really supercharged the furry fandom's growth. But the furry fandom it would not be as big as it is now, but it definitely was around before the internet was the thing.
Yeah, it's not solely reliant on the internet, but the internet certainly helps. But that's kind of true with every fandom, though, because we want a gathering place, and it's not necessarily best to have local gathering places for certain things, like anime, right? I know most colleges have an anime club and stuff like that, but most colleges
used to run
don't.
One. My resume is just too long.
Most even high schools and stuff like that, and like colleges with clubs and stuff, just don't really have a furry club. My high school, my final high school that I actually graduated from, they had a furry club, but it consisted of 3 members, myself included. So it's not even really a club. It's just why? You know what? Let's just hang out after school instead of making a big thing out of this.
Yeah, that's the other thing is, it is hard to find people who are furries because it's, hard to...
Taboo.
Yeah, it's
not so much taboo, so much as...
It's a niche. But
in the eyes of most general people, it's kind of a taboo. Because think about how many people you've ever just been like they see you drawing or they find out you're a fur and they're like, oh, and you're like, it's not quite like that. It's like that, but it's not quite like that.
I usually don't have a problem with that because, well, I'm very much fuck you. I'm doing what I want. I'm doing what I like. I have the approval of the people I care about. You're a random stranger. I'm doing what I want, but I'm also
I don't
like
need
that.
you.
But furries are out there, and it's easier to find them than you would think, and it's oddly small. I was just reminded of a story of one time I was borrowing a fox fursuit from a friend, and I decided to suit at the college I was at, just walking around the student services building. Mainly because I was a little bit of a shit troll at the time. I loved seeing people's reactions. And one of the teachers for, those college orientation classes?
Yep.
Yeah, one of the teachers for that saw me in the hallway and said, "Oh, can you come in real quick?" I walked in, and he's like, "Guys, now remember, when applying for aid, you gotta be crafty like a fox, right?" And I kind of nodded there. Just a fun little story, but it doesn't end there.
No.
It doesn't end there. Years later, 5 years later, I'm at Califer, sitting in the Artist Alley area, because I was trying to find someone to buy some fur fabric I had on me.
Gotcha.
And I ended up talking with these 2 young ladies, and they're like, "Yeah, I found out about the furry fandom because my brother told me about this time that he was in this college studies class, and this fox fursuiter came in."
And you're like, "That's me!"
And yep, I confirmed what year it was, what college it was, and yep, that was me.
It's like, that's me. This is a small world, huh?
Yep.
Oh my god.
So, furries and people who will become furries are out there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's just a matter of...
I feel like for example, Kansas City, you would think, which is where I live, smack dab in the middle of the United States, you'd think there'd be more furries, and on the surface, you're kind of like, there's not jack here. But then when you actually dig deep, it's like, I feel like almost everybody's either dabbled in it or is one.
Well, that's the thing, is furry as I want to say art movement, as opposed to art style or genre, has a very, very large appeal. And anthropomorphics, which I think it goes even broader than furry stuff, has even a broader appeal. So a lot of people a little older than me or my age grew up watching things like Animal Olympics, or a lot of Disney stuff.
For
Specifically,
Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh no.
I'm certain he can hardly move. And an interest in that sort of thing can lead people to furry fandoms.
Yep.
The very first furry party was actually called a Galachi party because people were gathered at a science fiction convention to looking at a artwork by Steve Galachi about his serious sci-fi cat character, Irma Felna, who was a cartoon animal, but not cartoony.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
And so they decided to, talk. They was like, oh, hey, other people are like this. Let's go back to our room and talk. And that's pretty much the origin of how a lot of the stuff in the furry fandom got organized.
It was magic.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm a little too much of a furry historian.
No, it's fine. It's all good stuff to talk about.
Yeah, if nobody else is going to be doing it, who is? And of course, if nobody else is, then how do we know our own?
Yeah, so it really does just kind of bring in perspective and answer like a long question of mine going, has anybody been like writing this stuff down?
A few people have. Joe Strike had been working on Furry Nation, and he's working on the sequel, Furry Planet, I believe is what he's calling it. And Furry Nation is actually published. You can buy it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, a few other places. I'm trying to remember who else. There's another person I know who is working on furry history. But for the most part, a lot of people aren't really writing it down so much as a lot of the stuff's already written and just needs to be preserved, or in a lot of cases talk to with the person who knows before they pass away, unfortunately.
Yep.
We should go find a bunch of owl furries, make a big library, and just store things there, and their only job will be just to protect and preserve all of that history.
All I'm saying is that if I get the funding, I will open up an office that will have the furry library in it.
That would be a project and a half.
I would love to be able to do that full time.
Just make a non-profit and.
Yeah, as what Hazel has said, it would be quite a bit of a project.
Yep, unfortunately, because I have to work full time to pay for everything.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
that's really the biggest issue with just about everybody is like, we really need to do this, but I have bills to pay.
Yeah, and that is
if everything was free in life, we could focus on more. But obviously, the world is what it is. So.
Like I said, if I won the lottery, I would definitely be spending a lot of money towards the fandom.
Oh yeah, if I won the lottery, I'd probably save some part of it for expenses. Then, well, there'd be a very large number of happy artists.
Right?
Oh yeah.
It's like I actually have an artist that if I ever get a large sum of money, I've already got them. Like I've already got like a contract to put them on retainer, and I'm just like, you're gonna get like $2,000 a month from me, and I'm just gonna ask you for things sometimes.
Well, we
ask for a ton of art.
We have a modern version of that where it's crowdsourced called Patreon.
Yeah.
And that is just lovely, in my opinion, because it's really enabled a lot of people in the fandom to really focus on creating stuff.
Yep.
Rather than having to worry about bills
as much,
as much or at all, staring at Sec.
Yeah. I'm an upcoming artist myself, so I see that.
I draw on occasion. I don't draw very well on
doodle.
occasion. Let me just. I did some Fox adoptables once.
Fair enough.
Yeah, let me show you guys. They were $1 each. Too good home. I just started with foxes because they were easy.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That's fair. I
Always
did
the
sharks
one.
because they're also pretty easy. A lot of angular.
Wow,
features.
you are really innocent, aren't you?
Well, so with that said, and the fact that it is now 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I think it's time for me to sign off because I have another appointment.
All
From
right.
the angle of the sun.
All right.
That's a really sinister way to say, hey, I have a second job to go to. All right. Love y'all. This is Celty, the chaotic and lovable one, just leaving. Bye-bye.
Oh, I didn't even get to say goodbye. Was it something I said?
No,
Yes.
Maybe.
Yeah, I had a little bit of a difficulty there for a second, but it looks like I'm back.
Gotcha. All
Welcome
right.
back.
Alright, so you've actually undergone different types of OSC through the years. You currently, now being an otter, you were previously a white tiger, then a snow leopard, and later a snow leopard wolf hybrid, and stories of a rainbow skunk.
Well, the Rainbow Skunk's not a persona, he's just a character.
Gotcha.
I draw a distinction between a persona, which is a furry
You.
persona,
Yeah.
an avatar, a representation of me,
Yep.
versus a character that sometimes I roleplay as.
Yep.
Or write stories for.
So that's like me. I'm Hazel. That's my persona. But then I have other characters that I play occasionally.
Yeah, I do have other characters, but primarily I just get art of Uriel and myself.
That's-
Oh,
But yeah, no, I did shift. I started off when I joined the fandom. I was on a White Tiger kick, and then at Anime Expo 2006, I was holding a snow leopard tail, and
it was adorable, and it took you in.
and then I suddenly poofed. I was like,
Yeah.
oh shit, I changed species. How did this happen? And then I shifted. Not too long after, I shifted a bit more wolfish.
Gotcha.
And then in about 2009-ish, when I was going through a bit of period of morphic instability, my then roommates shoved me into an otter-shaped mold, and I've been an otter since. Also a bit funny because before I was really into white tigers, which I became into right before I joined the fandom, I was really into ferrets. So I'm back to being a mustelid.
Fair enough.
yeah.
Ferrets
Fair
are pretty
enough.
cute anyway, though.
Yeah, black-footed ferret is what I was going for, but
We actually just adopted a ferret that was out of a troubled home. So her name is Bandit, and she's adorable. She's really sweet. A lot sweeter than most of the other pets that we have.
And ferrets are very nice, and I've always wanted one, but I've also always known I've not necessarily had the time to properly take care of one.
Yeah, you need to give them attention at least every day, 'cause yeah.
Yeah, so I'd feel really bad if I had one. Like I would love to like get a ugh, what the hell's wrong with me? I can talk, I swear. I swear my brain's
Honestly.
running faster than my tongue can go. I would love
That's
to
what she said.
adopt a rat, but it just wouldn't work out. Plus, the dog might decide it's a snack.
Oh no. Yeah, that would be a bit of a problem.
Yeah, we don't want
Just-
to risk that.
Just a bit of a problem.
Just a
Well, go ahead and tell you, ferrets are also quite unpredictable as well, too. They have a unique personality. It's actually illegal down over here in California to own one. However, you'd
it's
How was it
illegal
one that I
to
had?
buy or sell one. Fish and Game look the other way for ferrets.
yeah.
I worked for 3 years at a PetSmart.
Yeah. Well,
In California.
anyway,
I'm from California.
originally.
I only moved away 3 years ago. I spent 30 years of my life in Southern California.
Oh, please. You became a traitor. You turned on us.
No. I followed my heart, which unfortunately drew me from the best coast to the least coast.
I've lived on the East Coast my whole life. It's not that bad. Come on.
But no, it rhymes. Therefore, you know it's
I
true.
know.
Best coast,
I
west
know.
coast, east coast, least coast.
I know.
You know it's true because it rhymes.
So is
Yeah.
there actually a particular reason why you chose those as your OC then?
Chose what as my OC?
Your previous ones, the tiger, snow leopard, your hybrid.
The tiger was... I really had a fascination for white tigers at the time. I forget exactly how I got into those. It was definitely something to do with the old Siegfried and Roy cartoon, which no one ever seems to remember. But the old the Las Vegas Siegfried and Roy, that is. Plus, I was effectively raised by cats. We had a lot of cats growing up.
One of those.
Yep, my mother was a crazy old cat lady by the time.
Hey, at least you get an early start on it.
Yep. And at our max, we had 11 cats.
Wow.
So, yeah, so I had some sort of kinship with them. And then Snow Leopard was, well, cute.
Alright, well, more important question. Have you ever considered on joining back the canines?
Well, I mean, I married one. My husband's a coyote.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's half a point.
Honestly, I am into transformation stuff, so I've played around. But otter suits me. I very rarely stop moving. I always try to see everything as play or fun, even when it's work.
Oh, yeah.
And I love running water.
Well, you've got to have fun too, though. That's why, if you pick what fits you best, and that can change over time too. So, you know.
There's no real rules on picking a persona. So you can even pick something that, this is totally not me, but I like stripes. And then if you get really indecisive, that's how you get chimeras.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
And circle dogs.
No. We are not doing that.
Oh, we're doing this.
No, okay. The canines suffer brotherhood, unity, and loyalty. I mean, even you made us a coyote, we do not need to go ahead and bring in sparkle dogs here. We have a reputation to...
No, let's talk about chimeras.
Oh, chimeras? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I at the time I was the Snow Leopard Wolf hybrid, and someone said, your description for this is really complex. This is an overly complicated character. And my reaction was, no. This is an overly complicated character, and I came up with a text description for what I call the Summercat, which is, 9 tails, each one a different animal, 6 legs, 4 arms, wings, 3 eyes, 4 ears, antenna, unicorn horn, rainbow motif. It gets worse.
Yeah, of course, it's always a
That's
nightmare.
complicated.
Just a little.
It can always get worse, though. Like, I don't think there is a lower limit.
I have a friend who gets worse.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no.
Someone who has took up the challenge.
Me too, actually, though. That's...
Talking about 100 pairs of legs?
What? Is there, a reason why, particularly, he chose?
The same reason why anyone chooses anything. He likes it.
Yeah.
He just likes the number?
And his 100-leg monstrosity is as valid as my otter. It's still monstrosity, but still.
That's, I mean,
yeah.
So it's all in the eye of the beholder, so, I'm not gonna judge anybody. Even if I do find it moderately humorous.
Yeah, go ahead and judge. We're all judging each other.
True, but so I think there's a difference between passing judgment and letting that affect my opinion on somebody, and having a small laugh to myself about something, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Well, I don't know. It just seems like a particular number to go ahead and choose 100.
He often cuts down to just 6 for artists, because expenses. But he's a fairly decent guy. He used to have some problems a number of years ago, but he's been.
Usually how it goes.
Yep.
You're fine.
Okay, I'll say it's always nice to see people that you've known for years become better people. But then again, you look at other people that have become worse over the years, and you just kind of scratch your head. And then you slowly realize that they were that bad the entire time.
Yeah, it sounds like you're talking a little bit with some folks with the alt-right there that you particularly knew that did it as a joke and realizing how serious that thing was getting.
Yeah. Now, you see, I used to have some friends who were into Nazi furs back in 2005-06. And they were decent people who said that they were doing it to mock the concept. And fast forward a decade, and they weren't mocking it anymore.
Surprise.
They were being quite serious, and even the ones I know for certain were, not serious at the time. And it's like, guys, you stared into the abyss too long and became it.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like with that Trump situation. Everybody was thinking that it was a gag and a joke, and then all of a sudden, hey, guess what? Now he actually did become president.
Please don't remind me.
Too late.
Damn it. I'm holding you responsible for this.
I regret nothing. So what exactly made you decide on joining the furry community?
Honestly, it's very simple. I didn't have any... I was homeschooled for 4 years for the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So I went to high school not knowing anyone. And, not having any social contacts or friends. And one of the people I did connect with and made a friend was a furry, and in order to kind of impress him and be friends with him, I kind of let him drag me into the fandom, where he promptly told me never to go into VCL.
Yeah, at least he gave you a warning.
Which I promptly ignored.
Half the time we usually do. I mean, if somebody tells you not to go in somewhere, what's it going to do? You're probably going to go look into something that you're supposed to not.
Probably. I mean, we were 14 at the time, so it's not like...
Nah. Just mine.
It also did help that I had just gotten the internet for the first time a couple of days before high school started. So that was fun. And then, so by winter, I was already a furry. Not a very exciting story, I know. But...
Well, nah. I mean, it's, like I said, always interesting to go ahead and get the origins of everything, of how things become.
Yeah, I've always been interested I have always been interested in history in general. So when I joined the fandom, I wanted to learn more about history. And then when 2003, when I finally started being able to go to local parties, the first party I went to was at the Branson Skilterra, which is just filled with anthropomorphic and furry memorabilia. And I mean filled. We're talking bookcases, figurines, posters, art cells, all over the place.
Jeez.
And a lot of the people who hung out there were there from the very beginning. So I got to hear a lot of stories about how things...
Yeah, you sound like one of the types that would hang out with the older crew.
Well, these days I am the older crew.
Yeah.
I don't
and
know
of course,
so...
It happens. So what will you be attending for next year's convention?
Well, upcoming, I've got... upcoming this year, we are for certain doing Anthrocon and Tiny PawsCon. We're still... My husband and I are still trying to decide if we're going to do MFF. Next year after that, the only one for certain I know I'm doing is Furthermore. We might end up doing a bunch of different stuff. Still a little too early to say for certain.
To be announced.
Yeah, my husband doesn't want to do another 4 hours in the registration line, so he's not certain about doing MFF.
Yeah, that's...
We've literally spent 4 hours in the reg line. Problem was so many people and only effectively 10 registers.
Yeah, it usually sounds about average with most large cons.
Yeah, no, I know. It's just we got stuck in that line for 4 hours, and he's not happy with that. I wasn't all that happy with it, but I had fun there.
That's the main thing. That's long.
I'd be doing FWA again, but
Man, 4 hours in a line.
Well, maybe he should have chose the back. Unfortunately, I don't think MFF has
I can't properly answer that question. That statement. I'm assuming we're trying to keep a rating here.
Yes, we are.
Yes,
But most conventions actually do have a side door or whatnot, a second entry. Since I'm third entry, that people don't usually realize that is actually a lot more quicker than the main entrance.
Well, no, this is for the registration. There are ways to get around it, but I don't want to buy a table and be a vendor at MFF just to get past the reg line.
True enough.
Yeah, at that point, you don't even get to enjoy the con. You're working.
The funny thing is that for the 2017 was the first time in 10 years that I had not been working a convention, either as a volunteer, staffer, or vendor. And I didn't know what to do with myself, so I did a bunch of panels. Like ran. And then I got hired by Furthermore to do their museum of Furthermore. So my sabbatical from working conventions is now over.
There you go. I mean, you still have some fun on the side, at least.
Oh, no, I always had fun. Even when I was working.
Yeah.
Being one of the things you do as a volunteer is you do a lot of door watching. That means everyone comes to you. So you get to see everyone.
Hmm?
And when you're doing a vendor, same thing. If everyone comes up to you, you get to see everything.
Fun comes to you. So, yeah, we're going to have to go ahead and start wrapping this up. A couple more questions, though.
All right.
What would be your greatest hope for the future of fandom, and what would you worry about it the most?
What I worry about the fandom the most is effectively being colonized and commercialized by outside sources. Trying to exploit what we've built here in the last almost 40 years for making money without caring about, our history or the people who've done it. Without really regard for it. That is probably my biggest concern. But I don't think it's a huge likelihood because, well, the biggest impediment to commercializing the furry fandom is all the furry porn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Sums it up.
No
So
one
I
wants
think-
that stigma.
And
So
I
I
think
think we're
already,
safe.
yeah, and I think already one individual already did that. Bad Dragon.
I cannot say anything about Bad Dragon because I don't want to risk a lawsuit.
Yeah.
And that should be all you need to say about Bad Dragon.
True enough.
But my biggest hope about the furry fandom is that we find more people within the furry fandom finding commercial success for their product, for their stuff, for their furry products. Dana Simpson, who why can't I remember the name of her comic? Thank you, Ozzy and Millie. She went on to do Phoebe and Her Unicorn, which is a fairly large success. Stan Sakai back in the late 80s, early 90s, started off Hisaki Yojimbo in Albedo, a furry comic, anthology comic. And we're seeing a lot more of what looks like to be furry influenced things coming out to the mass market. Things like Zootopia definitely probably has some furry fandom influence on it. And beyond that, we're starting to see a larger acceptance of anthropomorphic and furry material out in the larger market after it collapsed because of diamond distribution in the 90s. But for the last 25 years or so, furry fandom's been pretty much by itself, to the point where I talked to a comics guy back in 2017, and he said that he thought furry stuff had, gone away because he'd never seen anything about it for many years. But then he came to the convention and saw that, it was all alive here and thriving. And I'd love to be able to show off everything that we've done. To, show off everything we've accomplished. And for the people who are putting the time and effort behind it, to be rewarded for that.
Yeah, which is, of course, is the ultimate goal for you guys, I know. And, of course, for the aspiring entrepreneurs out there who might actually be starting out in the fandom, what would be any recommendation?
Well, my first recommendation is always to make a small fortune doing anything, start with a large fortune. What you need to do is always be aware of what your risks are and be prepared to fail. Most people fail. And that's not anything wrong on them. It's just because things didn't work out. I've had a lot more failures than I've had successes, I'll tell you that. And even my successes have been muted because they didn't work out so well.
So hope for the best, expect the worst type of mentality.
Exactly. Don't be afraid to fail, and always find something to learn from your failures. And don't take out personal loans.
No, definitely not. It just makes things a lot more worse.
Thankfully, I have not learned that one from experience myself. But
yeah.
But I have unfortunately known people who have been put into trouble because of loans they've taken out to do something and it didn't pan out.
Yeah, that's a high risk, high reward type of thing, but if that reward doesn't pan out, then that risk is a huge loss.
The other thing is, if you really want to try to make money in the fandom, find a niche. There's always something out there that people will want, and even if it's only a tiny minority, if you find a niche of people, that's going to be enough people to keep you afloat, to keep doing what you want to do. I mean, you don't need to pull in rack amounts of money in order to keep going, but I mean, I'm not going to blame you if you do.
You did better than we did.
That's the other thing is, make certain you follow through on whatever you're doing. Don't half-ass it. Unless, that's literally what you're selling.
Half-ass product.
Well, partial donkey suits.
It's probably already got a seller.
I'm pretty certain it's already been done.
Yeah, I should have seen that one. Okay, well, obviously, a lot of stories, a lot of information. I know you probably go ahead and go on and tell us even with some of the more crazier stories that you probably have done.
I can't even tell them half of them, actually, because privileged information.
Yes.
It's sad.
Unfortunately. Usually how the world goes. Well, obviously considerate as well of other individuals with legality stuff. But It's going on at least about an hour and a half now, so I think this is pretty much where we finish things off.
All right.
Unless, of course, anybody else has anything to say.
Nope. I've had some fun talking this entire time, so.
Well,
Nope.
all right then.
A lot of good stories, and I actually learned a lot more about the fandom than I thought I
Well,
would.
That's
I'm
always
sorry.
what I hope to do. Is teach people about ourselves effectively, because this isn't my history; it's your history too.
Yeah, it's ours. Whether we're proud of it or not, it's a part of it. Well, this has actually suited you on the Omega Republic. Copper Cap will probably be coming back eventually once he finishes off with that statue of mine. In the meantime, we'll go ahead and continue on with regular programs of In the Spotlight. Until then, we'll go ahead and see you guys next week. Bye.